conservation of turtles and dugongs in the waters of Australia is a challenge due to clashing cultural and environmental views. The hunting of turtles and dugongs is strongly restricted to the Indigenous people due to cultural and dietary foundations, and prohibited for non-Indigenous Australians. The status of some turtle species such as the green sea turtle and the dugong are critically endangered, and therefore the sustainability of Indigenous hunting methods is questioned. This topic of debate is discussed in the Sydney Morning Herald titled Indigenous Input Essential to Survival of Endangered Species, written by Melissa LaHood in July 2011. There are other factors influencing numbers of turtle and dugong, such as climate change, fishing, pollution, predation, and disease. To gain a bit of knowledge about the dugong, we spoke to Nathan, a dugong expert at Sydney Aquarium.
Hello, my name is Nathan. Welcome to Sea Life Sydney Aquarium. Natalie has asked me to tell you a little bit about the humble dugong. For a start, there's 4 living species in the order Sirenia, so dugongs are closely related to manatees. Dugongs are found in the northern half of Australia and also all throughout the Indo-Pacific area. Unfortunately though, they are under a little bit of threat. They're definitely disappearing. Just like with their cousins the manatees, they get hit by boats. They get tangled in fishing nets, and pollution can kill the seagrass beds of what they like to eat. Hunting is another big issue in certain parts of the world. Even in Australia, Aborigines are allowed to hunt them naturally, but whether this is sustainable or not, well, that begs further investigation. That's all from me. Thank you.
Indigenous Australians have been hunting dugongs and turtles long before the colonisation of Australia. However, now turtle and dugong numbers are at threat of extinction if current practices continue. A study on the importance of turtle harvesting in an Indigenous group found that the hunting of turtles directly relates to the hierarchy of the group and the mating rights of men and women. Therefore, the complete loss of local turtle populations and the loss of hunting rights would be detrimental to the Indigenous people socially and culturally. This figure demonstrates how the breeding success of Indigenous men closely correlates with age and status. The graph also demonstrates how hunters have a higher breeding success than non-hunters. The IUCN has listed the green sea turtle as endangered since 1982. Local extinction is likely to occur in some areas of the world due to influences such as bycatch, direct harvest, and habitat loss. Some areas of the world have an increase in green sea turtles after regulations and restrictions were implemented into the harvesting of the turtles. Turtle populations at Ascension Island in the South Atlantic Ocean were harvested since the 16th century, and harvests were documented until the population became commercially unviable and stopped. Since then, the local turtle population has increased. This diagram demonstrates populations of green sea turtles are increasing, where the symbol is positive, and others decreasing, where there's a negative symbol. If Australia could implement similar regulations, the native populations of green sea turtles could possibly be revived from a critical status. Green sea turtle populations are slow at recovering from extensive harvesting of eggs and turtles, and therefore more informed harvesting methods should be implemented. In the newspaper article by Melissa LaHood, one of the sources stated that Australia's numbers of turtle are high and no threat is present unless Australia doesn't look after them. Studies support this statement with models demonstrating that if Indigenous consumption continues the way it is, the populations will be depleted very quickly. Consequently, green sea turtles are in high populations globally. However, on a local scale, they vary greatly, and smaller populations are at a greater risk of local extinction, more so with the added pressure of hunting. The hunting of green sea turtles by the Indigenous people is regulated by the Native Title Act 1993, Section 211, which states, for the purpose of satisfying their personal, domestic or non-commercial communal needs, and in exercise or enjoyment of their native title rights and interests. Therefore, Indigenous Australians have every right to hunt the green sea turtles, despite studies and models predicting the future local extinction of the turtles. This legislation's current status is questioned by conservationists and marine biologists, as the populations of turtles and dugongs have decreased since it was established. In Hopevale, Queensland, as seen in this map, a scheme titled the Guyuyimathir Bamawi Nagawiya and Giribithi Turtle and Dugong Hunting Management Plan was put into place. This plan aimed to educate the indigenous people of the Hope Vale region about sustainable hunting. A study was conducted to assess why the management plan failed. A management correspondent was quoted the following: "What we need are effective and rigorous planning arrangements, including milestones that allow us to fill our legislative responsibilities." An Indigenous local respondent said the following: "Well, we need some good planning for sure, but it needs to be appropriate for us fellas, our culture, and it needs to make sure we got our rights protected." This demonstrates the conflicting priorities of the Indigenous and the conservationists. The notion of Indigenous Australians practicing sustainable hunting is one that is of varying opinion within both Indigenous and non-Indigenous groups. Indigenous hunting is not the only influence on turtle populations. Some green sea turtle deaths in the waters of Moreton Bay, Queensland have been due to the ingestion of a poisonous octopus species. Turtles and dugongs are under threat by many various threats besides Indigenous hunting, some threats being human-related such as fishing, while some are natural such as predation. It is crucial that these animals be protected with management plans that account for the cultural needs of the Indigenous people.